Two Girls, One Cup made me throw up. But
I'm glad there's a limit, bud.
Just imagine a young, 20 year. Oh no!
What are they gonna do with that cup?
Welcome back, everyone, to S1E1, a show where each week we pick a different sitcom, watch just the first televised episode, and forgetting anything we might know about the future run of that show, rate it and decide if it's a show we want to greenlight or cancel. This week we're going to be talking about Selfie. Selfie went 13 episodes with one season on ABC. Today we're talking about episode 1, which is called Pilot, originally airing September 30th, 2014. So to get things started, I'm Jay Gags. With me as always, the boys, Joe, Ferg, Nick, and Gordo. What's going on, guys?
Heyo. Hey!
I don't have a quote this week. I just want to say, how fucking dare you, Ferg? This modern bullshit Instagram version of My Fair Lady meets fucking, I don't know, whatever hashtag filter fucking Pretty Woman garbage you made us watch broke my fucking brain. This is the dumbest show I've ever fucking seen. I feel dumber for having had to watch this. This show was canceled in place of reruns of Shark Tank. Not new episodes of Shark Tank, reruns. People were like, I'd rather watch Mark Cuban talk about something he talked about 6 months ago again than watch this fucking show. I fucking hate this so much.
So I don't want to defend the show, but I do want to say, if there's anything that would obviously trigger that Joe hates the show,
Yep.
I mean, anything modern in general, Joe would have been just as mad if it was about I don't know, air fryers and things like that, things he doesn't understand.
No, I have an air fryer, but it doesn't have a fucking quirky girl playing a fucking ukulele near it. This is fucking the opposite of art. This is
Joe not understanding an air fryer is hysterical. What is this?
So, can I cook ham in it?
Oh, and that too. She makes fun of ham tongue. How fucking dare you? Your tongue is so lucky when ham has touched it, and you're gonna call some bullshit like it's too salty? Drink some fucking water, lady. What the fuck?
So, Ferg, it was pointed out that you picked the show.
Yep.
Would you like to explain why you picked this show?
I picked this show as revenge for all the terrible shows Joe's made me watch. And it was him specifically in mind is why I picked this. I watched this when it was on TV originally. And it was because I was a big fan of Karen Gillan from back in the day with Doctor Who. She was one of my favorite companions. Big nerd, That was why I originally watched it. And this time, I needed to share my pain with you guys.
So I want to go over a couple quick things before we even get started. I said 13 episodes. Only 7 of them originally made it to air before being canceled. And then on Hulu now, you can watch the entire series. So all 13 episodes exist there.
I can finally watch the rest.
No. Incorrect. It has not been on Hulu since 2019.
Oh, it came off of Hulu. Okay.
Yeah, even Hulu was like, we can do better than this. I don't think anyone's gonna ever watch this again.
Good luck finding it. Also, pilot episode was actually uploaded to Twitter on August 20th. So a full month before it made its actual TV debut, I guess trying to keep true to the social media thing.
I mean, you guys mainly watch most of your TV episodes in general, right? On Twitter. That's what you do. You're like, oh, I should go on Twitter today and watch an episode of fucking MacGyver.
Well, I'll say a lot of people are testing things. A lot of people were, even today, are testing different ways to bring content out. I guess a show like this that's focused on social media and people's addiction to it, I guess I can see why they would want to do a debut on on Twitter.
Listen, Joe won't stand for anybody talking bad about social media, right? That's why he hates the show so much.
It's mainly that. It's nothing to do with the fact that I had a very scary high cholesterol report and Ferg was like, I know the episode that will kill Joe. We don't have to fucking do this anymore.
I picked this way before you went to the doctor.
Oh, you knew there's no way I was healthy beforehand. You didn't need the doctor's report.
Also, IMDb 7.2 for the
I
series.
saw this. The ratings on this show are silly, yeah.
Rotten Tomatoes, 59 critic, 76 audience, which lines up with the IMDb score.
So all 76 people who liked this show watched it and gave it a thumbs up?
So it's not the most hated show. It's there is a fandom for the show, and we'll talk more about that later on too.
They've got to be 12-year-olds, right?
I don't know. I know it's not. I don't want to like start shitting on certain people because I feel like all different people listen to our show, so I don't want to start targeting.
Yeah, we have fans of all different ages.
And also, we talked about how long this episode was. Once it went to streamer, they did have a cut version of like a 21-minute version of this episode. What we watched was the original TV broadcast version.
How fucking dare you? There was a 21-minute version and you made us watch this? You fucking psychopath! How fucking dare you?
Relax. Hey, there was the credits and that little trailer thing afterwards, so it wasn't a 26-minute episode. It
That's
was closer
true.
to 23 and a half.
Probably, yeah, that's true.
I didn't even think about the weird trailer at the end. Good call.
Also, who puts the trailer of the episode you just watched at the end of the episode you just
That's an
watched?
ABC thing. You can't blame Selfie for that. That's ABC.
I'm not blaming them.
Yeah.
I'll blame everybody. That's just a terrible move.
And just a reminder to everyone else, also S1E1pod.com is where we have all the links to all our social media. If you want to follow us, S1E1pod on Twitter or X as it's called now, Instagram, all that stuff for us. So if you want to follow our social medias, go there, S1E1pod.com. Also, we have some merch and stuff like that. Hit us up, talk to us. We go over that spiel every week.
Do you think maybe the version you got was the one that aired early on Twitter, and that's why there was the ad for the show for ABC after it?
That could be, yeah.
Oh, that's true.
Now, Joe, I don't expect you to like a show like this because obviously it comes from a lot of cultured references. It was based on George Bernard Shaw's play Pygmalion. It also drew a lot of inspiration from My Fair Lady. So, I mean, I know that like you're not into things like that, so I can see why a show that has such deep root into theater and stuff like that wouldn't tickle your fancy.
I like My Fair Lady. I like musicals. I like the theater. I don't love fucking ukulele Lady Gaga. That is the kind of thing that I almost jumped off my fucking roof when that scene happened.
I'm surprised you didn't go with Ukulele Gaga.
Oh,
Ooh.
No, because anger doesn't allow for puns.
new shirt, Ukulele Gaga. Jay, get that up for next week, please. Thanks.
Oh boy, hold on.
I would love, though, if the end of our podcast was that we got sued by Lady Gaga. And we had to just be like, sorry.
Oh, we got sued by a ukulele.
Big ukuleles onto
The
us.
estate of Tiny Tim. Yeah, sent us a letter.
He's the one person you can't be mad at for playing ukulele.
No.
Because he's terrifying. If I got mad at him, I'd have to run away.
I mean, there's a reason they use Tiptoe Through the Tulips in like horror movies now, right? Like, he's a pretty scary dude. But a friend of Bob Dylan, so that stands for something.
And the WWE.
Not, I was going to say, not a friend of Jerry the King Lawler.
Yeah.
To get into this actual episode, because there's plenty to cover, the intro is kind of like this short social media looking thing. You're just seeing selfies and like things of that nature. It's pretty quick. It definitely lets you know what kind of world they're talking about. Thoughts on the intro itself? It was very quick, so I don't know if there's much to really pull from there.
There's really not much to talk about.
No.
It was a flash.
You get the idea of what like she's about and stuff. It gets the job done and quickly, so I think they did a good job.
Ferg, you already mentioned the main character. She plays Eliza in the show. I really don't. I mean, I watch all the like Marvel movies and stuff, but I didn't realize who she was until I was like doing my homework after.
I mean, she's one of the most make-upped characters in the universe.
Well, yeah, that too. But I was like, whoa, that's Nebula? It's like, holy shit.
I will say this, though, because I know I've shit on this a lot and I will shit on it after. I like everybody in this. This is not an issue with any of the actors. I actually really like this cast. Everybody in this is in a ton of stuff I love, and I think they're great. I just think they got handed a script called Selfie, and they should have been mad at their manager and said, I won't read this.
She actually, by the way, had to wear a wig for this whole pilot because she shaved her
Yes.
head for Guardians of the Galaxy.
Like Jim in Office Season 2?
Three.
Two or
Three, after he did
Yeah.
Leatherheads.
At their Leatherheads, yeah.
So we get a lot of narration in this whole show. She does a lot of narrating through scenes. It starts off with her saying, like, how the funny thing is that people used to call her butt ugly. In 7th grade, she was literally voted most butt.
That's a word I haven't heard in a long time.
Thank you. Well, have you heard that, though?
Most
butt,
butt.
though. Is butt a thing? I know we're a little older, right? We're almost all banging on 40 here, but I've never heard anybody call something butt.
I have.
I have.
I've
Yeah.
heard it. I wouldn't say a lot, but
I was going to
I've
say,
heard
it's,
it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's common.
I don't think it's common.
And we see her yearbook photo, by the way, when this comes up.
Now the yearbook photo, and like you see her in like the past later on in the episode. Is that her in makeup, or did they take some poor girl and say, look at this ugly person, everybody?
You should do the Home Alone rule. You get it to be a boy in crazy makeup, so it's not super shitty to the actor playing it.
No, but I think when you're doing a certain, even if, regardless of who the actor is, a lot of that is based on, like, when people would joke about, like, she's all that, you know, as a pretty girl, but oh, she has overalls on, and like, it's like stuff like that. It's the aesthetics of the clothing, and
yeah, as a bunch of people with terrible eyesight, I always love the she's not pretty because she has glasses on thing.
Like, what they do is they show her yearbook, and then it pans over to a different person in the yearbook who's like the hot girl in school, and she decided she wanted to be more like her. And that's when she like started doing her hair different, started pushing her tits out.
I want to be like that hot 7th grader. Already I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Well, I get the sentiment. At that age, she's looking at the popular girl in class that got all the attention and the looks and stuff. So like, it's not geared for 30-something-year-old guys to be like, oh, look how hot that girl is. But it's the idea of like, when we were all that age, there was the hot girl in class and stuff like that. Why is that getting sounds? Am I speaking in tongue? Am I saying something that no one understands?
I laughed, but I was muted. I didn't realize.
I just didn't want to be edited anywhere near talking about the hot 7th grader.
Well, no, I'm making a point to when you were in 7th grade. There are people objectively at any age, when you are 10, when you are 20, 30, 40, there will be people in your age bracket that you look at as this is an objectively more attractive person.
Just trying to not give people sound bites.
Yeah.
Right. Well, she is saying when she was in 7th grade, there was a girl that she looked up to, and that is someone who she started to aspire to be more like. And again, like I said, you start seeing she started paying more attention to her hair, her nutrition, all this stuff, and made a real emphasis on being Insta famous, and talks about how many friends and followers and all this stuff that she has through her social media. So that was her like rebranding of herself, is through like the superficial world, which you see a lot of that. I mean, that is real. There's a lot of people that you know in real life, and how they present themselves online and through social media is very different than who they are in reality.
I will say the fun thing, though, is when you see people do that, but do it wrong. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not like pointing anybody out, but like sometimes you're like, I'm going to rebrand myself. And you're like, I don't think you know what you're doing. This is worse than who you actually are in real life.
Well, sure.
Yeah. I mean, this is a good analogy for today's world, like, because people do this.
Sure. I mean, this is a real thing that happens.
Yeah.
And it does become a very fake it till you make it situation. Like, it's a little weird. I want to kind of get into it as we go along, but I do have some issues with like, is she that person or is she not that person? Because the way it kind of flip-flops throughout the episode at times, it's like, I don't know if she's like, is she dumb? Is she hiding things? Like, I never had a full grasp of this character. I don't think it was like fleshed out well enough.
Guess you're just going to have to watch more.
You can't, because Hulu was like, this is so bad, we're taking it down.
Hulu said this was Pulu.
The character development in this is non-existent, first of all, but it's just, they throw you right into like the middle of these people and just kind of expect you to understand them. And the problem is that even the people, like the characters aren't hashed out yet.
Well, I don't mind. We've talked about this a million times before. I don't mind getting dropped in the middle of a situation.
Not the situation. That's not what I'm saying. The characters themselves don't make sense.
Well,
like,
we're not.
No, I disagree with that. They know themselves.
I don't think we're getting enough depth with some of these characters, and I can see Nick's point, but I would say before, like, I don't want everything to be an origin story. We're kind of seeing the origin of why she needs to change. That comes up later, and we're kind of getting on the ride from that point forward. But I had some issues as far as like being a little lost in the situation, not quite understanding where people sat within their workforce and like with their stature. I mean,
this should have had my name is so-and-so, and after that, after her like intro, I work at this company. This is what we do. These are my coworkers. This is who I'm dating currently. Like a minute of that would have, instead we're just dropped into an airplane with an entire company of people on it and expected to know the dynamics.
It starts with telling us her backstory, like how she got like this, and then you see her two coworkers, and they go, "Oh, she's this," and you get an idea of like where she came from and who she is from their conversation too.
Yes, but then they say that she's the leading salesman in the entire company.
Yeah.
and then follow up with her being the dumbest, useless person you know.
To be fair, I've personally, at different points in my life, been the best salesman in an organization, and I'm me. So to be, I feel like I can give her some leeway there.
This wasn't explained well, but I do think that part of that could be because she has a big social media following. So she's probably a good salesman through influencing. So they probably keep her on board because of that. But when you have like 250,000 followers, like that helps. Just to go back, because we didn't really set up the scene. We mentioned they're on a plane. Where are they going or coming from?
Yeah.
We know they're going back to the office because that's where we show up next.
Yeah, because next we're back wherever they live, but we don't know anything about why they just traveled, where they went, what happened there.
Big chunk of the company, too.
Yeah.
Didn't they say like a work event?
Yeah, it's like a pharmaceutical convention.
Yeah, they said someplace.
Oh, they say it's a convention?
When did they say that?
In the beginning.
I don't remember hearing that.
Gordo, you don't know that. You're just saying that.
Yes, I do. I watched it.
I think they did say it, but I can't be positive, and I don't want you to use this as a clip and call me a liar. So
All right, well, I have a transcript in front of me, and I certainly don't see anywhere where they mentioned it, but...
I have 5 pages of notes on this piece of shit, and I don't remember that. So
Although
I don't
Gordo
think
may
so.
have heard it as he was doing dishes while this was playing on the phone 5 feet
in the
away.
background while he was not looking at it.
Yeah.
I sat on my couch next to my doodle and we watched this. So, Ferg, you subjugated the doodle to this. How dare you?
good.
Not subjected? Is that a... Subjugated? Is
I
that a
was going
word
to say, I don't
too?
think that's the right word there, pal.
Subjugate is a word, I think.
That's the correct usage.
I don't think it is.
Yes.
Subjugated, bring under domination or control. So, no.
I certainly did not do that to your
force
dog.
your dog and say, this is my Father's Day present? You have to watch
In
this.
context, the invaders had soon subjugated most of the native population.
Yeah, so there you go, Gordo. You're right on the money.
I was.
I like when Gordo parlays being wrong with being wrong.
Well, you have to double down, right? Like, that's the only way to go through it.
Fucking Genghis Ferg showed up at your house.
Yeah.
Genghis Ferg.
Genghis Ferg shirts available now at S1E1pod.com.
Oh, Jay's got his work cut out for him this week.
Gonna be me with a Fu Manchu.
Sure.
Yeah. Anyway, we mentioned that we cut to the guys who were talking about her, and when we learned about how she's a sales rep and stuff. The main guy in the show, Henry, is played by John Cho, who you would know as the MILF guy from American Pie, Harold and Kumar.
Thank you. I know him from Harold and Kumar first, like 1.5, but 1, I'm like, he's the MILF guy. From
He's always the MILF
American
guy. He's
Pie,
forever
yeah.
the MILF guy from American Pie.
Like, it's so hard not to disassociate from that.
Yeah, I'd pick Harold over MILF guy.
As far as one got way bigger than the, like, he's like the star of the other one, I get it, but like my brain, that's how I met him, and that's like how I'll always see him.
Yeah, like where we saw him first.
And I guess Henry's character, they actually wanted to be like a white British dude, but they fought for John Cho.
I'm glad because A, John Cho rules, and B, like having it be a white British dude would just make it feel way too much like a Hugh Grant romantic comedy from the 90s, which is like what this is almost already at. And like that would have just brought it way too much over the edge.
So when you guys were talking earlier about like the thing, I thought that we were dumped in like a rom-com comedy, like in the middle of a movie. Like when Nick was saying like he didn't like the introduction of all these characters, it felt like you were like dropped in like a romance comedy movie, like right in the middle. Like you just turned the channel on and you were like, okay, what did I miss?
And you're just waiting for them to end up having Christmas in Vermont or something.
Yeah, I just don't think it was a solid start because I just think there wasn't enough context as to what was going on. But when those two are talking, they also mention how she's just one of those girls who's like no one's immune to her based on kind of looks and stuff. And then including Miller from Legal, who happens to be married, they mention how like she hasn't picked up on that yet. And it's, I don't know, I feel like they shouldn't know that part of it, like that she doesn't realize that he's married. Because for all they know, they could have just been in an affair situation, but somehow they are too in the know, I think, in this conversation.
Also, what makes you bad at sales if you can't read people? So if you can't read that this guy's married and you just now were noticing he has a wedding ring tan, then like, so there's a problem here.
She didn't notice. She was too busy riding that dick.
Well, I imagine those fingers were inside her at some point, right?
Okay, well, what they say is that she doesn't realize it because she was too busy matching her lipstick to her thong. And then we cut to her Instagram profile, which is like _Dulio, which is a real Instagram account that was made for this character.
Oh, I didn't know that, and I fucking hate the show even more now.
Currently has 10.9 thousand followers.
Throw up. I'm going to throw up.
And again, if you want to follow us, S1E1 Pod.
I wonder how many it had at the time, because like this is 2014, right?
Yes.
I'm sure they were like guerrilla marketing the fuck out of this, right? Where like, and then if they were smart, they would have gotten like you know.
They didn't need like engagement either, so they could have like easily paid for likes and followers like through
That's true,
outside
too,
sources.
yeah.
It wasn't like important that it had a legitimate following. It was more for the aesthetic of you watch the show, you check to see that there's a real profile and like the gimmick of it. So,
But wouldn't they have wanted to buy 263,000 friends? Because isn't that what she says she has?
maybe it wasn't worth it. Maybe they thought that the following would come if if they just got the jump start.
Maybe they were like, hey, Cubes, Mark Cuban, we're going to get some money from you to buy some more friends. And then eventually we're going to bump you guys up to reruns.
If I remember correctly, I could be wrong, but I'm almost positive that at that time in 2014, you needed 10,000 followers before you were able to post links and stuff in your, like, I don't know if the stories existed yet. The stories might have existed.
No, I don't think so.
But 10K, like, unlocks certain things for you, like to have, like, affiliate stuff. So they might have, like, got it over that threshold. So it was, seen as a whatever account.
I don't know why you would even pay for that if you're ABC. You could just tell 10,000 of your employees, hey, go follow this.
Yeah, you think you'd mandate people to be like, hey, this is a work requirement. Go be friends with this dumb show.
I don't know. That's a real weird line to have.
Entertainment, though, it's a weird industry.
All they had to do is tell the Doctor Who fans to tune in because Amy Pond was loved. She had just died.
I mean, the Doctor Who fan base is massive, right? That's a hugely loved show, and it's been on for 60 years or something. So there's like generations of fans for that.
Yeah, but over there, that's like 3 seasons.
That's true too. What did we do the other day that I was like, it's the most British? We did like one of our recent episodes, like the most British show ever. Was it Todd Margaret? Where it's like it went for 7 years for 3 seasons and like nine episodes or whatever. You're like the most British seasons of a show ever.
During this conversation too, Harold gets really into his like he's the anti Eliza. He hates social media, but I feel like he goes about it in a way that was a little too much. Like I think the character, I felt like this is the guy that you're supposed to relate to. So like, yes, she's like a not likable character, but I felt like he was too hard the other way, that he's not relatable, because at the end of the day, like you're targeting the show for bunch of people who most likely have social media and post things. So he's being too much like the angry, parent, as opposed to someone like you can see yourself as.
I wouldn't say parent. I could say at this time, they're probably thinking it was the analog for the spouse or partner, right? Like there's a person in the relationship who's all over social media, and there's somebody who's like, this is stupid. Stop taking a picture of dinner every night. So if you're stuck watching it with your partner, you can appeal to both people. That's what I got it from.
Sure.
So what Joe's saying is this is genius writing. You're right, Joe.
I just thought he was a little too far.
Sure about that?
I agree with you, Jay. He goes a little too far in the other direction. But like they're trying to show you both extremes so they make each other better, I guess. I don't know.
But do they meet at a maple syrup contest in Vermont?
Will their relationship last being pushed into the mud in a rainstorm? That's what I want to know.
Gordo, did this line at least do it for you? Why does a generation feel compelled to tweet every time an item goes into their mouth, including Miller from Marketing's, and then it cuts to the flight attendant walking up to him? Warm nuts?
Nuts. Yep. I enjoyed that.
There were a couple heroes like, Gordo's going to greenlight this fucking episode.
Yeah,
I fucking know it. Yeah. There's like a bunch of like poop jokes and nut jokes, and I was like, this is made for Gordo.
They know how to write to me. Big ABC, big selfie in my pocket.
We see Miller. Eliza walks up to go sit with him, and she tries to like kiss him right away, and it's very awkward. I don't know. This was like the first time it flagged in my head. It definitely comes up throughout the episode. I mentioned it earlier. Just this idea of like, I'm not sure the way she comes off, is she this person or is she pretending to be a person still at this point? Or is she so deep into the woods that this is who she is now?
I think she's too deep in the forest to see the trees. I just realized something. They have work weddings. Like, that's part of this episode's plot.
Like, if it started off with, like, them never mentioning Miller's character, and then when Eliza goes to sit with Miller later on, and you just have her talking about, like, oh my God, we had such an amazing time this weekend, and says flirty stuff, and like, oh, remember when you did that thing? And then later there's the reveal that we get later on anyways. Like, I think that works. And her being aloof up until that moment could have been part of it, but
I mean, I understand the whole thing because most of my sexual rendezvous have been because of Miller.
oh, I forgot. You always play Mac Miller CDs every time you have sex.
Like, hey, baby, you like Mac Miller and their CDs.
Well, how about you see D's nuts?
Oh, God, Gordo.
Give him credit when he's quick.
It's not quick. If you say CD, Gordo, it's not quick. It's, I think, a brainworm. He's got a brainworm that
Gordo has a couple
buttons.
Jokes, right? And he's waiting all episode for a setup to use it. It's not like he's being quick. He's just waiting patiently for that joke to come up.
No, that one was off the top of my head.
I have an actual example of it. We'll go back, not to tangent too hard, but this is just, no one would catch it if you didn't know Gordo the way we know him, right? So a couple weeks back, we do Bosom Buddies, right? A couple of you weren't there for that one. There's a point where Russ, who joined us that week, said the something community. I know Gordo loves that AJ style thing about talking about the gay community. Gordo, you from the moment the word community was said, you could hear Gordo's brain going, waiting for a moment where he could say it, and then about 2 minutes later he slipped it in. Like, you were just waiting for him to do it.
I mean, to be fair, that's like the funniest video ever.
Sure. But anyways, to get back into this episode, Eliza's talking to Miller. She's being very flirty with him, whatever's going on. Stewardess walks by. Sorry, flight attendant walks by. I don't know why that's a bad word, but I guess it is.
You're in the business. How dare you?
Yeah, I was gonna say you should know that. Yeah,
I just think it's dumb. Personally, I don't know what the bad connotation is. It's just rebranding.
Oh, I'm with you. I don't get it either. But
no, the issue is that people didn't say stewardess and steward. They would call male flight attendants male stewardesses, and that was the issue. So they changed it to be a blanket term to be gender neutral.
But while this whole thing's happening, the flight attendant walks by and reminds them, oh, make sure you have your seatbelts buckled. And that's when he goes to clip his seatbelt, and she notices the tan line where his wedding ring is usually at. And that's when she realized that he's married. I don't know. I felt like that's weird, right? Because it was a deep tan line. So if she was with them all weekend or whatever trip, like you would have saw that.
She should have noticed this. Yeah, like holding beverages. Like, you imagine they're hanging out, they're doing stuff, they're in social situations. A tan line on your ring finger is like the most obvious thing to notice.
Especially that finger's probably been inside of her.
I said that earlier and you got mad at me.
Maybe because she's, the social media influencer, they should have added a thing like, she'll only take pictures on this side. So until she's forced to sit next to him, she's only ever been on his right side because she's taking pictures and stuff.
Hashtag ringtan. Hashtag fucking. Ah!
How do you spell that?
Blessed.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Hashtag he pulled out my fucking, what do they call those things that look like the Tesla logo that you put inside of you to not get pregnant?
Oh, God.
IUDs?
IUD, thank you. I always say IED by accident, like, so as to catch myself, because I don't want to, like, the veteran crowd listening to us is going to be like, those are different things.
But anyway, she notices that he's married, and this is now, like, instantly, we get this cutaway scene that I don't like because she's talking about it, like, that she just needed to, like, GIF her way through it. I'm a GIF guy. I'm
a GIF guy too. I was like, she's
GIF all day, baby.
People who say GIF are psychopaths.
Me?
Yes.
Yeah, you're a psychopath.
Case and point.
No one's gonna argue that, Gordo. You're fucking crazy.
Oh yeah, well I say it. What does that mean?
No, because in our fan base he has this little minion army, and they're all gonna be like, I say Jeff too, Gordo. Don't worry.
Yeah, there are the Gordos. We have a fucking Gordo army, and that's who's gonna overrun the country someday.
They do the cutaway scene where they're showing like all these like fake gifs of her in upset situations. They do a lot of this stuff throughout the episode. The little icons of social media things floating above at times, and the text whoop whoop things, and like they do it a lot.
I think we first talked about this in the Big Show.
It was done bad. There was another show though where we said the texts were done well. I think the texting part's fine now because I think texting has become such a thing that I'm okay with the text bubbles. But like when people are taking pictures and you just see little Instagram logos floating in the air, like that was a little too much.
There is a scene coming up here where she's in the airplane still, and it like broke me. I was so angry.
Upon learning though that he's married, instantly starts to puke in the barf bag, puts it down, very heavy.
It's a lot of vomit.
That's because she ate hoagies. She had hoagie regret.
Starts puking into a second bag. She had so much left over, and then he's like, hey, maybe you should head to the bathroom now. I think they have a toilet there. So she gets up, and you start seeing her like walking towards the back of the aircraft so she can go to the bathroom. And while she's doing it, the 2 bags of puke just like got out from the bottom.
It's Kevin McAllister walking home with the grocery bags. Home Alone 1. That's all I could fucking think of when it happened.
So now she's getting puke all over herself. It's a big mess. Everyone on the plane's looking and laughing at her and taking pictures and videos.
That happened to me on an airplane. I didn't puke, but as we pushed back, the lady next to me just threw up fucking everywhere.
And Nick had the worst flight to Australia of all time for 19 hours.
This is really unrealistic. Like, say what you want about her as your coworker, right? But seeing somebody just get sick on a plane is not like, laugh. Like, that's just a plane full of unbelievable personalities.
Especially where a lot of them are coworkers. But yeah, I guess.
It's just, that's not true to anything. It's just, I fucking hate this show.
I don't know.
Man. I really do.
She's obnoxious. When the first time you see her, she's walking past them all going, oh, upgrade ladies, bye. Like rubbing it in.
I think you could have done away with the obvious, like, ha 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 ha, everyone's laughing and pointing, the really animated way of doing it.
Yeah,
you
right.
should still have, in fairness to the social media thing and the reality of how people act, you should have had it where she looked around and could see everyone was like sneaking videos of her.
Yeah, like they had like their phones like in the air.
Yeah, so instead of doing it that wild, I think maybe having her being just aware of the cameras on her and like looking around, and you just kind of cut to each person like taking videos, I think that would have worked a lot better.
Also, even in 2014, an HR department would have been like, yo, you can't just make fun of an employee publicly. Like, that's going to cause you an issue.
I mean, they don't make fun of her. You can't control it laughing.
Posting her laughing while she's puking is, I would imagine, probably an issue for the HR department.
I think she's assuming that's what they're doing because that's how she is.
She also refers to her puke as panic pudding at one point, and really fucking grossed me out.
I was okay with that one. Gross, but I thought that was funny.
But why would she be going to that bathroom? Doesn't first class have their own bathrooms? Why would she walk back to the coach bathroom?
That's a very good point. Well, maybe there's a couple in there having gland-to-gland combat, and she couldn't get in the door.
He wanted to make it known that he wanted her gone, so maybe that was part of it, too. Maybe that was closer to where she actually was supposed to sit.
I mean, I do like, though, that at least you know right away that guy's a villain. Like, I appreciate that he's not, then the rest of the episode being like, no, baby, I love you, too. My wife and I, we've been talking about a divorce, but it's just so hard because of the kids. Like, at least it's like, this guy sucks, he's out of the way.
We cut to a little bit later. Now she's in the bathroom, and the flight attendant's checking up on her. And she's, asking if everything's okay. And she's saying, not really. My new boyfriend is someone else's husband. I barfed all over my Louis Vuittons. The plane is full of my coworkers. And I'm stranded in here naked and afraid. And she's like, well, I need you to vacate the lab. And she's like, all right, but like, can you at least grab me like an extra like outfit? Like, and she's kind of going into the details, like what she would and wouldn't wear, the style version of it. And she's like, this isn't a department store. We just don't keep extra clothes.
I do like that she says Lady Tie, though. I don't know why, but Lady Tie actually got a chuckle out of me.
She ends up making like a makeshift outfit out of like the planes that they give people. But before that, when they're talking, you get this kind of like Was this shot of her body just to be like, oh, by the way, she has a hot body?
Yes.
It's 1,000%. Like, look at her in her underwear. This girl's hot. That's the reason for that.
She's asking the flight attendant, what would you do if you were me? And you just get the, like, from the fucking legs up, her in, like, small panties in her front. And like, oh, well, if I were you, I would just walk around like that.
It is quite the body.
I agree. That would have got away from the puke story. She just walked out in her underwear and they were all just like, damn, crisis averted. Cancel the show now.
Weirdly sexualizes her in a situation where she shouldn't be. And the flight attendant's like, what I would do is Pilates or whatever you do. We were like, where are we fucking going with this? This is fucking insane.
The flight attendant, Carol June, as she's called in the episode, she has one of those, like, where do I know her from? She was Bradley Cooper's wife in the Hangover movies. She's done a bunch of things, though, if you look her up. There's a ton of shit that you would recognize her from.
Is it weird that I've never seen any of those movies?
Yes. The first one's great.
I'm with you, Joe.
All right, I'm with you. Thanks, Gordo.
Watch the first one. Just watch the first one.
I'm not opposed to watching them. I think it was at a time where I just like wasn't going to the movies that often anymore. And then they were always on TBS. And I was like, well, I can't watch a movie like this edited.
No, you cannot.
They went to the well with the jokes on those movies too much. Like, remember how like the league just ran out of ideas and they kept rehashing all their old jokes?
Yeah.
That's what they did in the Hangover movies. But the first one's great. We get some more narration. She's talking about like, oh, it's a wonder what you could do. And she's talking about that outfit I said she made out of the blankets and stuff. And I mean, it didn't look terrible, but she walks out and everyone's still laughing and like taking pictures and videos of her because they know she is wearing blankets.
Also, not to get like gross or whatever, but like, I don't find somebody throwing up gross if she like shit herself. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to be weird or crass or whatever. Like, I think you throw up in the bag of puke, that doesn't seem to be like everyone makes fun of you. That's one of those things I feel like is socially acceptable, especially on a plane where they give you barf bags because they know people will throw up.
Yeah, but the problem wasn't that she puked in the bag. It's that when she was walking down the aisle, the bags exploded on her and she got puke all over herself.
Sure, but you know who we don't see too? The two people on the aisle seats next to her who also got her puke all over her.
Again, that's disgusting.
Yeah, it's not great, but like it would have happened.
I did not like that, and I audibly like cringed at that.
Well, I don't know if you guys all remembered. I don't know if you were all there for whatever episode it was, but Gordo has like a very big aversion to spit.
Yeah, that was early days when we discovered that one.
So body fluids in general, I assume, are just like no-nos for you?
Blood doesn't bother me. Poop, obviously, you know.
It's your bread
He'll
and butter.
play with poop all day.
Yeah, you can put, no, actually, 2 Girls, 1 Cup made me throw up. But
I'm glad there's a limit, bud.
Just imagine a young, like 20 years. Oh no!
What are they gonna do with that cup?
Wasn't it recently revealed that was all stage caca?
Of course. It's like soft serve ice cream. I knew right away when I saw that it wasn't real poop.
no, just the idea of that, man.
Doug, the
No.
poop sluice.
Joe looked at it for 1 second and went, nope.
It's like,
I know
not
my
real-
shit. That's
Not
not,
real
shit.
poop. I can't jerk off to this.
Gross. I'm the same way with anything like booger snot related. That shit is, it's like, I don't even like talking about it. Move on. I don't know why I brought it up.
But if it comes out of your mouth, I don't like it.
You let your dog lick you?
What if it comes into your mouth?
What? No.
You let the doodle lick your face.
I didn't want to give you that laugh. My body couldn't allow the laugh.
Well, you could just tell the countdown, Jay's head with the cum.
And hashtag ignored.
No, Ferg, I don't let the doodle lick my mouth. She doesn't kiss. She only licks my feet.
You're that kind of person. I'd be like, come here, doodle. Ah.
To be fair, I play video games with Gordo a lot, and the frequency in which he's like, "Stop licking my feet!" while we're playing is way too high. That dog loves feet. It's so weird.
It's a Gordo dog.
So we finally get out of this airplane scene and we're cutting to like after all is said and done and she's finally going home. She's still in the blankets that she was wearing earlier, or the blanket dress or whatever. And she's running to the elevator in her apartment building. I believe that's what makes sense.
I think so, yeah.
And I got to say, this comes up twice, right? She runs for it. There's a point later when the elevator with the other girl runs for it. But it's just a pet peeve of mine that I want to address. Like the idea of sprinting to hold an elevator open that's going to come back within a minute. Like I just don't understand the mindset.
I'll also 100% of the time take the stairs over an elevator.
It has its ups and downs.
Really? You're going to the 18th floor, you're taking the stairs?
I will, yeah. That's a lot of good steps in a day.
Elevators are too modern for Joe.
No, I appreciate elevators, but I'm saying when I used to work in a lot of big, tall buildings, right? And I would always take the stairs up and down because it's
Fuck that.
No. Fuck
the same
that.
thing as why I don't use escalators. It's not a fucking ride. If people aren't walking up it, you have to bother people to be like, move to the right so I can keep walking. Then I'm just taking the stairs.
There's some buildings that I've worked at that were tall that like you physically couldn't walk up the stairs. Like there's just nothing accessible.
Like that scene in Ghostbusters when they're coming up all the flights of stairs.
Let me know when we get there. I'm gonna throw up.
But yeah, the running to the elevator thing, like where I park at work, I park in like the top floor of my garage. So I take the elevator. There's 2 elevators side by side. It's not the biggest garage in the world. And the people who will just like run from a mile down to hold it when like the next one will be here in like 30 seconds. Like I just don't understand the mindset.
It's also like running to be at work sooner.
It gets under my skin. But anyways, she holds for the elevator. And then while she's on, there's like a group of like 4 girls that are sitting in the elevator also. And they're talking, and she's under the
This is
impression
where
that
Joe's blood starts boiling, by the way, is the introduction of these fucking girls.
so these girls are talking in a way that she thinks that they're talking about her. They're talking about like, it's weird she defines herself by her sexuality, but I actually think it's like the least interesting thing about her. And they're talking about like all these other things. And she cuts them off. She's like, okay, well, first of all, I had no idea he was married. And when we engaged in gland to gland combat, as mentioned earlier. And she's like, and second of all, I get super horny when I travel. And that's not my fault. That's science. I don't know if that's scientific. I don't know. They're like, we're not talking about you. We're talking about the book we're reading. We're in a book club, which was The Fear of Flying by Erica Young. I think it was one of those. It's a real book, and I haven't read it, but I think if that's actually what's being discussed in that book, that's a great pull to use for this for this show.
It's a very well-known book about like feminism and sexuality. So
Yeah, I'd have to imagine that one of the writers of this episode had read it, because that's like just too specific of a pull to have for them.
I think Ferg
for that
read it
joke.
recently. He was talking about it.
Yeah, Ferg was like, I love zipless fucks. That's like the famous thing from that book is the term zipless fuck, which is like about, like that book was so revolutionary because that woman, when she wrote it, was like writing about how you can have just like,
Was that dry humping?
no, like sex you can have with people, like, but like affairs and like one night stands or whatever when you don't know the people. But in like 73, that was like a radical thing to say, to be so big in the public.
This group, kind of, I don't want to say the leader of the group, but the one that we know lives there, and someone that Elijah's not very fond of is this girl, Bryn. She's like kind of she's the main one in the group, at least, or at least the one that we see the most from, talks the most, but she is the we couldn't get Zooey Deschanel to be in the show, so we got this girl.
Yeah, she's Bobo Deschanel.
Could have hired Joe. Just saying.
I would have done it. Give me some bangs and a long wig and a ukulele. I could have done this part.
And she's kind of discussing all these things that, makes her the worst. And they're going over her nails and just her outfits and all these things. And you're getting that montage where they're showing like pictures of it all, like as if you're looking through Bryn's Instagram account. They really like, you know what? It's not even that bad. Like, if I'm being really honest, in this case, it's not that bad. Like, I don't mind the flashes to almost showing their social medias. It was like the effects that really bothered me. The floaters, icons, I think was a little bit worse. This here, kind of using it as an example to show things and what people post, I think kind of works with the stories.
But I still hate it.
Of course you hate it.
It makes me fucking infuriated. I think it's stupid. I think our generation's fucking dumb.
Ironically, you're the biggest Instagram of us all. You are always on Instagram.
Very true.
That's true.
You actually have the most Instagram accounts out of all of us.
Well, I'm an influencer, guys. You didn't know that.
Yeah. I will say, I mean, obviously, for all of you guys listening, it's not lost on us. We talked about it all the time. Joe has been he does not like the modern world, right? We joke about it all the time. He likes sitting at home and he plays, he plays records and he likes to watch things on VHS and
plays his ukulele.
When Joe took to Instagram out of nowhere, it was the most bizarre thing to me.
I like pictures.
Because he went from flip phone to full-fledged Instagram.
When he started using, like, not just had one, like, the idea of Joe having any social media account, period, was bizarre when it finally happened. And then for him to, like, not just have it, but use it, I was like, what's going on?
He uses it often, too. Like, I'll be going through people's stories, and then Joe will have, like, 10 stories of just record stuff.
But yeah, it's very specific, though. It's just like, I'm listening to music right now. Here's what I'm listening to.
Hashtag tunes, hashtag music.
Hashtag these glasses aren't real. Hashtag this is all a figment of my imagination. I'm trying to look cool. Everything I've built up is so that I'm cool and I get followers, guys. It's really working well for me.
We cut to Eliza after this elevator thing, and she's just like hanging out in the tub, and you kind of get the text. She's talking about how after this whole situation happened with her, she wasn't feeling good, and all she wanted was like some Gatorade to feel a little bit better. And she texted all her friends, and nobody really seemed to care or had anything, like, yeah, no one was really worried about her.
Ginger ale.
And that, the only person that was there for her was like basically like Siri when she had to like DoorDash some ginger ale to her house. And she's realizing now that like there's a big difference between having friends on social media and having friends. Just because your follower count is a certain level doesn't mean you actually have friends.
Another psycho thing here, though, like, we've all been super sick. We've all had COVID. We've all had, like, these terrible flus and fevers and had, like, really tough goes of it. 13 cans is what I counted of ginger ale crunched up on the floor. She drank 13 cans of ginger ale while in the tub. Is she peeing in the tub or is she getting out? What do we think?
I was just going to say that.
She's definitely peeing in that tub.
She's peeing in the tub.
Also, was that a time thing? Like, were they trying to show she's just been there miserable in the tub for like hours and hours and hours, or did she just drink can after can? Like,
look, I haven't taken a bath in a long time, but if I remember correctly, last time I did, that water starts to get cold about 7 minutes into the bath.
Yeah.
So if you're not feeling well and you're in a bath long enough to drink over a 12-pack, you're getting cold water and probably more sick.
It stays warm if you pee in it.
that's true.
That is fair.
Where the ginger ale comes in.
I grew up in a house that doesn't have a tub. I have just a stand-up shower. Can you get anything for the tub? Because not that I had one anyways, but my thing, limited times that I ever took a bath, I like hot water when I shower and stuff. I'd want a hotter or at least very warm bath. Can you like almost like sous vide the water? Like, can you put something in it to just keep it at a temperature? Like, there's
You
gonna
can
be
put a
something
toaster
there, right?
in there.
Toaster. No, you let some water out and you put more in.
Yeah.
There should be something you could do to temperature gauge it though now.
That's what you do. You let out some water and you let...
Well, I think the problem is historically electricity and a tub don't really get along, so they don't want to... Nobody's going to make that product.
Well, they could do it for steaks. You could cook your steak that way. Why can't you just keep your tub warm?
Because you're not in with the steak.
Listen, you're literally describing a hot tub.
True.
That's true.
That's fair. That is fair.
Yeah, no, but in that case, the water is getting heated outside of the basin and put back in, so...
I mean, I have more experience with baths now because of the baby, right? So she takes a bath every other day, and it's like 5 minutes, and that water is not hot anymore. It's a weird thing to notice, but because you have to have like a
Yeah, but that's a small amount of water.
Yeah. Also, you don't. If I've heard correctly, I believe hot water burn babies, so you don't want it to be hot anyways.
I want a baby.
We get to the next scene and we see Henry and Ethan, and they're in the elevator at work, and they're talking about. Well, Ethan's asking Henry if he has any plans for the weekend, and he's like, "No." He's like, "Oh, so no girlfriend?" And he's like, "Huh?" He's like, "Oh, I'm just trying to determine if like where you're at, like, if your personal connections relate to how you perform in your work or whatever." I'm like, this is a weird. First off, I was under the impression that they were good friends by the way that they're like always together, and he didn't even know if he had a girlfriend or not. Like, I don't know. It's just a very strange way to give us that information about Henry.
It's weird that he doesn't know that, but he knows that she's banging this other dude, and she hasn't realized that they're married.
Office gossip, though, travels faster than like real interpersonal relationships.
Sure, but the one guy at work that you seem to talk to, you don't even know if he has a girlfriend or not.
Maybe they don't talk as much as we thought. I mean, he's not even in the second episode.
I was gonna say maybe he went to the writers and he was like, "Shouldn't I know this?" And they were like, "Maybe you should leave.
Get out! Get out!"
It's like, you will not be. And then he was actually on episode 7, but he was pitching his new product on Shark Tank. He wasn't actually on the episode.
Is it the sous vide for the tub?
It is, yeah.
They all get off the elevator. They're walking by like kind of the main reception area, and you have like the receptionist who's standing like this big round desk, and she's greeting everybody as they walk by. Just a nice lady. And then you get to the last person who ends up being greeted by her is Eliza. And when she asks her how she's doing, she just kind of gets on this whole like tangent about herself and all this stuff going on and just kind of walks off. Doesn't ask the receptionist how she's doing or hello back. It just kind of just gives her an info dump about herself.
And she says hamster breath at one point.
And then goes,
Yeah, she do that weird thing. Now that we're in the office, Liza enters a room where a meeting's about to start. And as she sits, everyone's kind of like looking and laughing and clocking her as she's, heading to her seat.
I would say snickering.
Yeah. And as she goes to sit down, someone left a barf bag from the plane on, where she was about to sit, which didn't feel like assigned seat. So I don't know how they knew she was going to sit there, but whatever.
She's a creature of habit. Maybe that's where she always sits.
I was hoping this was going to be a RoboCop scene and somebody was just going to come out and murder everybody with a machine gun and be like, "Oh, episode's over. We're all good."
But it's just the RoboCop from RoboCop 2 that walks out and pulls its head off.
Shoots himself in the head. Oh, the suicidal RoboCops in RoboCop 2 were so fucking funny.
Oh, that's the best scene of that whole movie.
So now the meeting's about to start, and we meet Sam, who's like the boss there. And he's telling everyone to settle down and talking about, hey, as you know, the company took a major hit when our best-selling pediatric nasal spray was pulled from the shelves for causing satanic hallucinations, which is wild, especially when you think that it's a pediatric spray. So this was just children having hallucinations about Satan.
You break it down like that.
Was this in the same universe as Dirty Work?
The brownies?
Yeah, where they eat the brownies and already lying in Norm Macdonald or like hallucinations, and just Adam Sandler in a Halloween costume.
We eat the pig and then we burn.
Together we burn.
Gary Coleman's there. What you talk about, Satan?
When he brings it up, you have the one scientist at the desk who just goes like, allegedly. That's Brian Husky. He's like in so much shit. Like he's one of those guys. If you look him up, he's in everything.
He just makes you smile. You're like, oh, that guy, remember from like Step Brothers and a million things. Like, he's always just funny for 2 seconds.
The 4 episodes of New Girl he was in, stuff like that.
Oh, I wouldn't know what that was.
So he was talking about how like it was recalled and all this stuff, and it was they had to regain the market's trust, and then all of a sudden we have Henry who came through and was able to kind of like bring it all together, and he was able to rebrand and fix this product. He calls him up. He's like, talking about how he loves this guy. He's like, come up here, don't worry, I'm not going to make out with you. He goes, I lied about that. And then gives him like a big kiss, and it was very weird.
But he lied about that too, because they did not make out. That was a closed mouth kiss.
True. It was just it was a very big kiss, though.
It was a nice kiss. It was gentle, but it was not making out.
I know it's his job to rebrand things and stuff, but how do you put a good spin on that? Like, it's making children hallucinate Satan. There's no way on earth that you could put a different spin on that they would make a profit and it would save the company.
Yeah, that's a real marketer.
The good ones can.
Like, what do? You just remarket it as like a drug for like party people? Like,
we live in a world where we grew up, and it's a little different now, but it was like tobacco, tough cowboys, like you'll die, but you'll die as a man. Like, I don't know, they find a way to spin it around,
And even like, I don't know exactly, maybe it's not going to be a pediatric nasal spray anymore. They're going to use it for something else. But remember, there's a lot of medications. A lot of medications start as something else. Like right now, like Ozempic wasn't meant as a weight loss drug. Fucking Viagra was not meant to be a boner pill. They go, oh, well, it does this, so we might as well just market it as this now.
And wasn't Coca-Cola medicine?
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it was Pepsi first, right? Because like the scientific term for like stomach problems is dyspepsia, and they just kind of like shorten that.
Yeah, because caffeine and cocaine makes you feel better. Again, I don't have to bring it up this often, but back when cocaine was good.
Joe does talk about coke like
A lot.
a lot.
Yeah, you know what I miss a lot? Good cocaine from the olden days. I would never do it now. Are you kidding me? It's so terrifying and dangerous. Also, my heart would explode. I'm 1,000 years old and I have stomach problems. But the old days, it was a lot of fun.
After Sam kisses Henry, he goes, I read an article that said Asian men are more comfortable kissing on the mouth as a sign of friendship. He goes, they're not.
That made me laugh.
I do like that this is where you get his disposition a little more, too.
It was a very kind of Michael Scott type of move. He tells him he's going to forward him the article.
Like it would change his mind. He's an Asian man and he's uncomfortable. It's like, no, read this article. You like this.
I do like, though, they follow up and they actually do give him the article later. Like, I appreciate that there was the follow through to that joke.
Great writing.
Well, let's not go crazy.
And as Sam's going on about, like, this guy did the impossible and how he took a product whose reputation had been badly tarnished and rebranded it to a product that consumers could once again love and trust. And that's when you have Eliza's character come in with the narration again. And that's when she's realizing, well, hey, if this guy could remarket a nasal spray that gives you like satanic thoughts, then like he could definitely do something for me.
I think they should have showed that the whole plane incident affected her life a little more than it did. Like, have people that like used to give her free shit not get, like be grossed out by her and stuff like that, because like she makes that jump that she needs a rebrand pretty fast.
Like, guys aren't flirting with her anymore. They don't get free lunch in the commissary or whatever. Like, we don't see any of that. We just assume she's upset.
All we got was one airline bag on her chair. Like, that's the most we got. That's just like, I need a rebrand.
Not like people were saying like hashtag Pughley Madison.
What?
Pughley Madison?
What is that? What's that from, though?
Ashley Madison, the weird affair company, but put puke instead of Ash.
Where? Why?
Because
We weren't talking about like an affair website.
yeah, but she needs a rebrand, so it's not like people were calling her that.
You're right. They definitely weren't.
Maybe take a lap, bud. I don't know what's happening right now.
She puked on the airplane and she was having an affair and everybody knows about it. I'd be calling her Pughley Madison if I worked with her.
You'd get the same reaction at work if you made that joke.
No, somehow if Gordo made that joke, he'd be the one person who got fired out of everybody who was taking the pictures. But like, I'm sorry, Pughley Madison is a step too far and you are no longer welcome with this company.
With Henry's help, hopefully we'll turn it around and we can make her a happy Madison. Yeah, but hey.
That's 2 Adam Sandler references in like, what, 4 minutes?
Dabba-daw.
So now Henry and Sam take a quick sidebar after they kiss in front of everybody. And Sam's asking Henry if he's going to come to his daughter's wedding this weekend. He's like, oh yeah, I wouldn't miss it for anything. He's like, all right. He's like, and can you just like bring a date because you're always alone and it's kind of weird? He's like, I wouldn't call that weird. He's like, it is.
Is it though?
No, this is unrealistic stuff that they're throwing into these episodes to put the situation together.
And knowing way too much about people's personal lives in a work situation in a company this big. You wouldn't know if he was always alone, or like you shouldn't delve into what their personal life is. Like you have to have a separation.
But you know what? This goes back to what Gordo said earlier about work weddings. If he's always being seen alone at these weddings and people think it's weird, there must be multiple work weddings.
Yeah. See,
he didn't say weddings. He just says you're always alone in everything. There could be all types of work functions, conventions, and outings that they go on.
Specifically mentioned weddings.
Nope. He specifically said you're always alone. It's kind of weird. That's all he says.
At these things.
He says, good. Bring a date. You're always alone. It's kind of weird. Full quote. Nothing more.
But it was implied.
No. Nope. So anyways, after that sidebar, we cut to Henry walking into his office. While he walks in, Eliza's already there. Obviously, Henry's curious as to what she's doing there. And she's introducing herself. She's telling him how she works in sales. And it recently came to her attention that she has poor instincts, a weak stomach, and no real friends. And he goes, and loose sexual morals? She goes, have we met? I thought that was a little much of it, like kind of a dig. Like you don't know her well enough to call her a slut the first time you have an interaction with her.
Sounds like he does kind of know her.
He does.
But again, I've mentioned this a bunch of times. Like, this whole episode is an HR nightmare. Everybody would have just gotten fired because you have to just clear house and people do that stuff at work.
Ethan walks into the room at the same time. Henry goes, oh, don't worry. She was just leaving when he notices Eliza's there. She's like, no, I wasn't. You know, as he's refusing, like, come on, like you change the nasal spray that gives you the satanic stuff. Like you can change me. That's way easier. And she's like, I'm not trying to like tug at your heartstrings or whatever, but I threw up really hard. Like my abs still hurt from throwing up that hard. Hashtag the struggle.
The fucking hashtag in the scene. I literally have in my notes, stop saying fucking hashtag.
Well, that's kind of, again, with her too, it's just this idea of, is she faking it or is that who she is? Because I feel like when she's trying to come down, like, hey, I need help. I want to just not be the person I was. Her saying things like that behind closed doors to someone who hates this shit, it's like, so this is who you are. This is like stuck in your brain.
Yeah, I think she's like worked herself into a shoot, brother.
It goes back to she was miserable in high school. She was picked on. She was butt. So when she got out, she changed everything, and this is what worked for her. This is all she knows for success.
Henry gets into here the idea of like, you know, you can be beautiful on the outside and still butt on the inside. And then there's this kind of unnecessary dig at Gwyneth Paltrow.
Totally necessary. She deserves all the shrapnel for this.
Is she butt on the inside? I don't really know. I don't follow a lot of celebrity stuff like that.
There's a lot of controversy around her. She's a fucking weirdo.
Yeah, I mean, she sells candles that smell like her vagina. Immediately,
that's the only thing I know about her outside of the fact of like her career is that she sells vagina.
I know
candles.
a lot of directors don't like to work with her because she's tough to work with.
Yeah, I mean, like, look at her. Think of this, right? When you had like all those movies coming out in the 90s where she was going to be the next huge person, right? Like Seven is a good example.
She was a huge person in Shallow Hal.
She was a huge person in Shallow Hal. But I think the whole thing that now she owns that company, I mean, they made fun of, there's a whole character making fun of her in like the last couple seasons of Parks and Rec with like the goop and all that stuff that she does. I think that she's just one of those people who seems so much above everybody else. And she'll say things like, you know, oh, I only eat food that's done X, Y, and Z with all these like crazy fucking caveats.
Thinking about it now, did Karen Gillan and Gwyneth Paltrow ever share a screen at the same time doing the Marvel movies?
Well, yeah, there's the whole woman thing in Endgame.
That's it. Yeah, the woman power
when
scene
all the women characters get together.
Would that be after when this came out? After saying that she's a terrible person on the inside? Yeah, it would have had some.
way after.
This is 2014. This is a while ago.
It's weird to think, but 2014 was a decade ago.
Yeah, 10 years ago.
It's fucking weird, right?
But is that something that would clock with her, you think? Like, hey...
You think Gwyneth Paltrow watched Selfie?
Pretty sure she didn't see Selfie.
No, I don't think she watched it, but I think, like, if a show takes a dig at you like that, I'm sure it, like, reaches your desk.
I'm sure, but also, like, you're a rich millionaire person and you just don't give a shit, right? Like, you have to have thick skin enough to do it, and enough people like you that you just ignore the people who don't like you, I guess.
To get back into this, and Henry's basically telling her, I have no interest in this, like, project or whatever, but thanks, but no thanks. He's trying to kick her out. And she's like, no. Like, listen, I get that you don't like me. Like, you don't have to like me. But if you don't like me, change me. And he's like, I don't like you, but I can change you. And now he's like thinking about it.
Nothing changes for him to change his mind. He went from absolutely not, and she didn't do anything to up her argument. And he was like, okay.
They just showed us why she's the number one salesman in the company.
Yeah.
But this is also why you need stakes in these things too, right? That's why like a time frame works in these scenarios where like, if you can change me and make me better by May 1st, then you'll get X, Y, and Z, right? Like that's why they use that in a lot of these scenarios. This one doesn't. So you're just like, wait, is it for his own self-satisfaction? It's hard to gauge because we don't know him yet.
Yeah, it's presented in a way that this is all through kind of his own ego, that he's taking this project almost just as a challenge.
Which I'm fine with if we know the character to be egotistical and a challenge taker, right? But we don't fucking know that.
Again, it puts it in a weird spot because we're flipping again now. She was the character you're meant to hate in the beginning. And now in this situation, she's coming to him vulnerable and looking to change and be a better person. And now he's kind of a dick. It's just like a weird dynamic between the two.
It just shows how this is a superficial world and people can change.
Or it shows that this show is butt.
And that these characters do nothing but flounder.
Yep.
And as he's like kind of warming up on this idea, you have this woman who works there, Linda, pop her head in the office real quick to drop off the article about kissing Koreans.
And I appreciate that they follow up with the kissing Koreans joke, but then they just call this actor ugly, and it felt like the scene where Michael Scott goes on the date with Pam's landlord. You're like, this poor actor just gets ripped apart, and you're like, this poor lady.
Yeah, because they're talking about, like, being a more respected woman, and that girl Linda walks in to drop off the article, and it's like Linda? Yeah, like Linda, only prettier. It's like she's right there.
It's like unnecessary digs.
You think they put that in the casting call? Like, we need this person, you will be called ugly.
Not ugly, but you won't be as pretty as the main character. Be like, oh, I can pull that off. Like, what the fuck?
At least, like, she's in the scene. Imagine if, like, she said it after she walked out of the door again, and then she's like, oh, my episode of Selfie's on this week, and she's watching it with her family, and then she, like, leaves the room, and they're like, oh, fucking yuck. Like,
at the local bar with all her friends and family hanging out. A round of chicken fingers for everybody. I will be on ABC.
Hey, everybody, Angela's on the TV.
It's like in My Name Is Earl when they're all gathered around to watch Cops. I'm excited to see everybody on the episode.
Oh, man, I wish I was watching Cops instead of this show.
I wish we were watching My Name Is Earl instead of this show.
That too.
Great show, which we did cover. Go way back. We covered it. Now we're cutting to the next day, and we see Henry and Eliza getting off the elevator together, and they're kind of already in their, like, training mode with her now. And he's talking about how he's going to need her, trust, and how that means that she's going to have to do anything and everything that he says, even if it seems unorthodox. She goes, totally, just no backdoor stuff. And that's when he makes it very clear that do not misinterpret, like, my professional interest as romantic interest, because, as he assures her, there is none. She's like, okay, got it. We're just friends. He's like, nope, we're not even friends. And I need you to acknowledge that.
Dick.
I don't know. I'm on his side on this one.
Well, what? You're on his side?
Yeah, because if a girl walks up to you, she's like, I'll do anything you want, just no backdoor stuff. You're like, whoa, Miss Lippy, maybe we cool it a little bit. Like,
well, why can't he acknowledge that they're friends?
They're not friends yet.
Well, but he's still being kind of
he's being a mentor and she's a mentee.
But practice what you preach. He's trying to teach her to be a better person, and he's flat out being rude to her. That's hypocritical.
You can be a good person, though, and not be friends. He's setting boundaries. He's not being mean to her. He didn't say, we're not friends because you're a X, Y, and Z. He said, we're not friends.
Yeah, and he's teaching her to be nice to people in public. When he meets, he's being actively rude to her.
You don't have to be friends with everybody, though. You can be nice to people and set boundaries still.
She was under the impression that, well, okay, we're not friends, and you're a gay dude. And he goes, I'm not a gay dude.
Right? Who'd say no to backdoor stuff with her? He must be a gay dude.
No backdoor stuff. Anything but.
This also feels very much of the time. I feel like this isn't a joke they'd make anymore.
It depends.
On an ABC show. On a different show, on a different network, definitely. But on like a...
Well, she's the one who makes the joke. She's the one who proposed it. You know what I mean? So it's like less... It's not him like, hey, can we do backdoor stuff? It's her saying what her boundaries are. So I feel like it could get away.
Good to have boundaries.
I'm sorry. This whole time, I can't get it out of my head. I just keep thinking of saying Nebula like Dragula. It won't leave my head.
Like Rob Zombie?
Yeah. Nebula! I can't stop. It's just been in my head for so long. So I'm trying to talk while this is just playing in my brain.
I feel bad for you. You've got Rob Zombie playing in your brain.
Rob Zombie's great.
It would be way worse if he was watching a Rob Zombie movie.
Just because you don't like the way he directs. Yeah. I mean, I'll say I saw Rob Zombie live once, a festival situation where he was like one of the last people playing, and he did the entire White Zombie album front to back, which was like he hadn't done in years and years. And it was great. And he has so much energy on stage because like he comes off as an old crippled man, but he can actually like move around.
He's one of those guys who started dyeing his hair gray on purpose when he was like 22. So yeah, you're kind of like, how old is he again?
Yeah, he just gives off cripple vibes, but he's quite limber.
Meanwhile, I find a gray hair and I want to cry.
My whole beard is gray.
I got the first chest gray hair the other day, and I was like, well, that's a depressing.
Wait till you get the ball hair.
Oh, I've got a few of those.
I think we've talked about it before. I have a chunk in my, like, not like, I have some scattered ones in my beard, but I'm starting to notice a couple popping in my hair now, and I'm like, here we go.
I noticed that I keep my sides short, right? So, like, it's kind of tough to see. But when they get longer and I get the haircut and all the hair falls on you, you can see it's like, oh man, this is 40% gray hair. Like, fuck.
Yeah. I mean, I forget, it was like a year ago, Jay was up in my neck of the woods and we met for a few beers and he got out of his car. I was waiting in the parking lot for him and you said, hey, how's it going? Man, you got a lot of gray now. It was like the second thing he said. It was like, good to see you too, man. Good
That's
to see
a really
you.
awkward thing to say to someone.
Well, it's not like socially inept. Like me and Joe have been very good friends for over 30 years, so it's
Right.
it's not an out of pocket comment, but also we've been doing this for 3+ years now. Where we're all in these video calls together, and it just doesn't translate when you see him like on webcam. So I don't see him in person as often these days. So I was not expecting to see how he's grayer in person than you realized. That
Yeah,
so
there's a
I'm just telling
lot of
you.
gray right now, yeah.
Need a John Cho to teach you some manners, Jason.
Yeah. So anyways, after that whole gay comment thing, they walk over to the secretary and, this is kind of where they're going to start it off. So he has her say good morning. And so the secretary greets them and says, hey, good morning. Like, how you guys doing? And right away, Eliza starts just talking about basically saying that some dude farted on the elevator, right? And how it's not her if she smells something.
And to brace
she's
herself.
like super mean about it too. She's like, it's residual. There's also like she says LOL out loud, which is
What's that?
fucking infuriating.
What term did she use for the guy farting on the elevator? A fart blanche? That got me. Some guy went all fart blanche in the elevator. I like that one a lot, actually.
I like the three of us are laughing and the other
I
two
was
are
gonna
just
say I'm tracking
disgusted.
who's laughing and who's not laughing at that joke, and it makes
It's who you
total
think.
fucking sense.
It was the three
Yeah.
that you would think would.
Come on, fart blanche is it's a funny play on it.
Joe, you love puns. You know you want to laugh.
No, I got an actual. My only lol of this entire episode was in this scene, but it was not that.
I'm sorry. Did you complain that she said LOL out loud and you just said lol?
Yeah, because I was referencing her doing that.
Well, after she kind of gets into that whole thing, Henry's quick to be like, hey, like, you just walked by, you just hit her with all this. You didn't even ask her how she was doing or anything like that. Like, do you even know what her name is? Do you ever talk to this girl? And he's like, he flips her name tag around so Eliza can't read it. And the secretary's trying to, like, tell her, like, whisper to her. She's like, and we find out her name is Charmonique, which is like Monique, only with the Char.
Dominique is a sweetheart.
And this part I thought was funny.
This is what I laughed at too.
She goes, okay, but in my defense, that's not a real name. And then Charmonique looks at her, and the look she gave her was like, I thought was hilarious.
I didn't expect to actually get a laugh here, but that was like I didn't expect her like shithead racism, and then her look. It was the one actual laugh I got the whole episode.
And now Henry's telling her, like, hey, from now on, every morning, you're going to go over and you're going to start by greeting her and asking her how she's doing. And he's saying, repeat after me, like, how are you? And she's going like, how are you? How are you? And I was like, she's doing it so weird where I'm like, she's not an alien. I get that she's like trying to learn how to be a better person, but she doesn't know how to say, how are you?
It's like, why are they trying to make her like Fonzie having to say sorry? It's like not a word like
Right.
that she shouldn't know how to say.
Yeah, they just made her like, I don't know, like to me, it legit came off like, we have to disguise this alien and make her act like a person. And like now she's like learning phrases, like, or it's like Encino Man or something, it's not this girl that's just like stuck up and like an influencer still should know how to say, how are you? Without it being like, how are you?
Right. She was a human for all these years previously, right?
Yeah. Like she never asked someone how she was, how someone was when she was still butt.
That'd be funny if that was the ironic part, is people didn't like her in school, not because she was butt, because she was rude and never asked anyone how they were.
That's the reality of the whole thing, yeah.
Told everybody their name was wrong.
Henry's saying like, oh, and for a follow-up question, like you say something like, how'd you sleep last night? And then Charmonique gets right into like, you know what? Like, not great. And she's talking about how she has a 9-year-old who shares the bed and has sleep apnea.
I understand this, but like we're regular real people who can talk to humans like other humans. I've never once asked somebody like, hey, how's it going? How'd you sleep last night? That's a weird fucking question to ask.
That's a weird
Yeah, it's
question.
like, hey, you catch a score of the game last night or something like that. You don't say, hey, how did you sleep last night?
Right. How about this weather, right? It's like bullshit small talk. You don't say, did you have any problems with your sleep last night? Why don't you give me some details about that?
this is going back to what I was saying earlier in the plane scene. This is introducing situations and not knowing how to get there. So it's unnatural dialogue to like give us this exposition that like it just doesn't, it's not being written in the way it should.
And unfortunately, that's modern writing for comedies now. I noticed that in a lot of sitcoms. Like, they don't know how to write for normal people just speaking. There are exceptions. I'm not saying everything, but a lot.
No,
of
but I
shit,
feel like that's
see
also
that.
what we're seeing in all the bad Netflix shows.
Yes.
Yep.
Like they come up with the idea, but they, like you said, they don't know how to organically get there, but they do it anyways, and it's terrible.
Henry's telling her, okay, now reply to her with something sympathetic. And she goes, I'm really glad I don't have kids.
I mean, she's being truthful to herself at least here, right?
Yeah, she's being honest.
But also where she was like, oh, I didn't sleep well last night. Like, we know she had a rough night last night, too. Her sympathy should have been like, I was in a cold... Yeah, same. I was in a cold tub last night, pissing ginger ale all over myself for 6 fucking hours. That's what a real person would have said.
And then after that exchange, we cut to Eliza and Henry, who are having a tea party.
This is a weird thing, too, right? Like, and I understand the etiquette of this is like a classic thing, but like, is anybody really being like, pinkies up, no slurping?
It just didn't make sense. Like, this isn't etiquette school. This is just like learning how to be a more compassionate human.
Right, like be like a regular person.
The thing is, like you said earlier, he's the complete opposite of her. So he really isn't the person that should teach her how to be human because he's weird.
Yes.
Like he's not human either. He's not human on the other spectrum though. Like,
so as they're having their tea party, he asks her questions like, oh, I just want you to answer this as honestly as possible. And then asked, the thing I'm most soothed by in life is... And she starts talking about the sound of gentle rain against windows or medium rain against rooftop with overspill from gutters, and says, oh, I have a rain app on my phone. And he's like, that's pathetic. Delete that. And I was like, it's not that bad. Like, people use things like that to go to sleep.
Yeah.
What's weird though
Yeah.
is she says, but it's free. That's not the right response to that. Like, you should delete that, but it's free. What?
But no, also true. But it just, in general, I can't relate to him in this situation.
no,
This
me
isn't a
neither.
social
No.
media thing. Just because it's an app, so now we just hate all apps and technology.
Right, like I can't sleep without the TV on. Yeah.
Yeah. She yeah, I have an app that makes rain noise. It helps me sleep. And you're like, that's pathetic. Delete it. What?
Fuck you, Henry.
Yeah, and how does this make her a nicer person?
That's what I mean. He's always mean to her.
And then the thing that she's most confused by, which is the next question, is plus size skinny jeans. I get it. I'm a plus size. I can say it.
But that's not even that. It's just like, I get it. It's like, oh, military intelligence, right? It's like it's making the easy joke about like two things that shouldn't go together, chocolate and peanut butter.
Yeah, it's the oxymoron.
Yeah, it's just a dumb joke.
Yeah, it was low hanging fruit to go with it. And then after that question, we get the quick, oh, by the way, like, I'm giving you an assignment. The assignment is to be his date at the wedding, which is just self-serving and being masked as, something to help her.
Right, and to immediately make it like, this is a will they, won't they now.
So he invites her to the wedding, and then he's giving her all these instructions, and I don't know why he's reading it like it's Cinderella, and like, everything's rhyming. Makeup should be light, your dress less tight, hair should be tame, your face softly framed, no 6-inch heels, no cleavage revealed.
I hated this rhyming, yeah.
It's like, why is he doing this? Like, is he a fairy godmother? Like, I don't understand this. This is just very odd to me.
And also, this wasn't written down and he was reading it. He just like spouts this out as like, these are his rules.
He's also a salesman, so he finds fun ways to spin things, and he knows she has the brain of a toddler, so he needs to do it in a fun way that she'll remember his details.
This also feels like, though, like 10 years down the line, like they're together and they get married and all of a sudden he's like a weird human nightmare she didn't expect. And he starts like trapping her in the house and giving her a bunch of rules. Like, this is the kind of stuff that you see as like a red flag when you're dating, that you're like, this guy might have some weird shit later on.
It's just like Black Snake Moan. She's chained to the radiator.
This is very much a Black Snake Moan situation. Samuel Jackson actually lives in his apartment with them in the big glass house.
So now we get back to Eliza going home again, and it's another elevator scene. Now this time, Bryn is chasing after the elevator to get on. And we get the narration from Eliza talking about how, her credit cards are maxed out and all her own clothes are too slutty. So now she has no choice other than to ask a friend for help. But all the girls that she thought were her friends or whatever are either drunk or at Soul Cycle. The only person left is Bryn, her neighbor who she doesn't like. That's when she starts asking her, like, hey, I'm so screwed. I have this wedding. I don't have anything appropriate to wear. She says, if you help me, I swear I'll never anonymously complain to management about your book club again.
What is the complaint, by the way? Hey, a bunch of girls are in an apartment quietly talking about a book.
I actually thought she said butt plug.
She probably has a ukulele playing from a.
I mean, to be fair, if I was the manager, I'd be like, is that a ukulele? Get the fuck, you're evicted right
Did you all
now.
just miss what Gordo said?
No, what did he say?
He thought, go ahead.
I thought she said butt plug, and I was very confused.
You thought that she anonymously went to the landlord and said, the girl with the fake glasses has a butt plug?
Hence why I was confused.
I understand the confusion there. Yeah, that doesn't make much sense, does it?
Maybe she left the butt plug out.
It makes sense that she'd complain about that because she says no backdoor stuff.
Wait, so did you just assume that's what she said until right now?
Yes.
You don't go back and check if you hate something. That doesn't make sense. Maybe I should listen again.
I watch it once.
No,
you can
don't.
still rewind a couple seconds. Like, this doesn't make any sense.
No. No, that's not how I work.
Doodle was licking his feet at the time, so he wasn't paying full attention to the episode.
Even Doodle was bored by this.
Bryn's like, I knew that was you. And then goes into the, but you're lucky because make-unders are my everything. It's like, this is all.
It's so fucking stupid.
So she just admitted to her that she does something really shitty to Bryn. And Bryn goes, I knew that was you. And it's like, oh, but lucky for you, I love doing makeovers or make-unders in this case. And it's like, why would she help her after that?
Because she's a good person.
She's not a good person. She has a ukulele friend.
It's true. If any of you play the ukulele, we're done.
We cut to a little later on, and now Eliza's home, and the knock at the door for this make-under to go underway. And when she opens up the door, she finds out Bryn's not alone. She brought the book club with her. There are a couple people from it, at least. And they're going over a dress that they think would look good on her. But I don't know if it's going to look right, at the bust. And she's like, oh, because of these. And she pulls out those fucking floppy chicken cutlet things that girls will put in to enhance their breasts a little bit.
And her butt.
Well, yes. And also we find out that she has it in her butt as well.
Like, what do you do? Like, same thing with a toupee, right? Where do you just one day go fooled you, take it off, you're already here? It's a weird thing to go out like that and then have to explain it away later.
Yeah, I mean, it's tricky. I guess, to be fair, and I guess it's a conversation for another day, but if it really makes you feel better about yourself.
Agreed.
Sure. I think people need to realize, and it's tough because we all have our own insecurities. We all do. So we all have things that, we don't want to, show the world at all times. Sometimes though, those methods of hiding things, at the end of the day, they're not necessary. You just kind of have to learn to be cool with what you are. Or if you really feel like you need to change it, just change it at that point. You know what I mean? But she's got all the rubber butt, the rubber boobs, all this stuff that she's just pulling out, which, luckily, puts her in a position where she can wear this dress.
But she's still a foot taller than this girl. They don't address that part.
Yeah, that dress technically kind of shouldn't fit.
Those girls wear dresses that are probably too long for them. They give off that vibe.
It'd be funny if that girl was like, me too, and then she pulls out 2 ukuleles from her chest and 2 ukuleles from her butt.
So she sits down to have her makeup done. Bryn's about to do her makeup, and she's looking around. She's seeing the other 2 girls kind of doing stuff around the house. One of them is cleaning out the kitty litter box for her cat that died 6 months ago that she never got around to cleaning.
Margaret's cat.
6-month-old dead cat shit. That's a friend right there.
The other girl is dumping out her old lo mein that I assume is very old for her to just randomly throw out the food. And then she's wondering though, is this what real friendship is and what friends do for one another?
You guys never clean my cat box or throw away my old lo mein.
I would never throw away lo mein.
Well, not if you can't eat it.
Or I would eat it and say, I threw out that lo mein for you.
I've been in this situation before.
That lo mein was still good. Oh, shucks.
Gordo, you were there with me for one of these one night where a friend of ours came home and his roommate, who's another friend of ours, was like, he got drunk and he sprayed ketchup all over the apartment, and we didn't know what to
Yes.
do. And Gordo and I, at like 4 a.m. coming back from a party, had to go and clean up this apartment to like save them from getting in trouble from their landlord.
Yeah, in our underwear, it was all fucking gross.
Why were you guys just hanging out together in your underwear?
We had to get our underwear because the apartment was tiny and there was shit everywhere, and we didn't want to get covered in ketchup because he literally covered the entire apartment in ketchup.
Yep.
That's still weird that you were both in your underwear cleaning somebody's kitchen.
Rather get ketchup in my underwear. Ketchup stains, man. You don't want that on a shirt or jeans. It's never coming out.
You wear all black all the time.
Yeah, you ever put all black on a pair of black, or ketchup on a pair of all black jeans? You get
Makes
a
it slick.
stain. Yeah, you get like a weird like oil slick stain.
I hit it with some OxyClean.
It didn't exist.
To be fair, at the time, I don't think I knew what OxyClean was, or it didn't exist yet. Billy Mays hadn't sold us OxyClean yet at the time.
I'll say this, I clean everything with OxyClean, and it fucking cleans everything. It's the one infomercial that really... Billy Mays didn't lie.
I sweat so much, and especially like my workout shirts. My wife now once a week will fill the tub with water and OxyClean and just put all my shirts in it for like 2 hours and then wash them. So I'm a very big fan of the OxyClean.
Well, guys, as much as I want to keep talking about this, we have to talk about a very important scene in the episode.
No, we fucking don't.
Because while she's sitting there waiting to get her makeup done, this is when Bryn starts with the Roma.
I believe this is the moment where I messaged the group and resigned our friendship with Ferg because I just fucking couldn't do this anymore.
Yeah, and slowly this turns into a group sing-along of bad romance while one of the girls just whips out a ukulele and starts playing it.
A random ukulele from out of nowhere.
Well, we know it was either in Bryn's butt or chest. She's got 3 more hiding back there.
Yuka boobies, but Yuka boobies.
Did you find your own joke funny, huh? You said it and then you left.
Yeah, I did. This might be worse than Country Comfort.
This is worse than Mama's Guitar.
This is like, I think, the pinnacle.
This is worse than My Girl on the Radio. Like,
This is a tough comparison. It's a different type of show. So it's like, it's a different gauge than like the standard sitcom. Like, so I don't know. I don't like it, but it is different.
No, there's no reason to be fucking ukuleleing Lady Gaga.
And I've got no issue with Lady Gaga. She seems like she's a fine lady, no problems. Not my thing, but she seems pretty down.
She's a fine lady and an even better gaga.
I was so like in between my feelings with this because I was super cringy, but I was also getting enjoyment of thinking of Joe watching this scene.
I was like sweating and yelling and throwing things around my... I was so
Ferg.
fucking mad.
Ferg just rocking back and forth with his fingers going, yes, yes, sing.
Looking at the crystal ball of me losing my fucking mind.
Taste it.
At least, though, I will say this, I hate modern fucking bullshit so much. At least they were lucky where they picked somebody who I think has, like, some lasting power.
That song's already like over a decade old, right? You know, like
Right.
it's got lasting power. And also, at the end of the day, if we're being completely real too, like it's unbelievable and weird as this might seem to us. Like, we're a group of dudes. Like, I'm sure girls do have sing-alongs once in a while.
I mean, some do. I'm sure some guys do, too. But it's not a normal, everybody does this sort of thing.
I'm just saying through me, not that movies and TV are real. Obviously not, right? But there are many different instances in shows and movies where girls will have these impromptu sing-alongs. It's always girls doing it. So, I mean, there must be some reality somewhere for that, right?
Anybody here who's had a fucking an impromptu ukulele, gaga, or any other band
The ukulele
sing-along, let
part's
us
a little
know.
extreme. I'll give you that. The ukulele's probably not
Where
typical.
does it come from? I know, you're going to say her.
You don't see her
chest.
bring it in.
No.
No, you do actually. You see her bring it in. I
do
do.
you?
Oh, she does?
See it. The
Oh.
blonde girl walks in with it.
I mean, I think in this whole scene I was seeing red so hard that I probably just missed it.
Is she carrying it in or is it like sticking out of her back or something?
She like has it like, yeah, you could see it.
Imagine bringing that with you everywhere you go. Holy fucking shit. What a fucking nightmare person that is. That's the kind of person that when you're on the subway and they're like, oh, the train's delayed for 20 minutes. They're like, hey, I know what'll make everybody feel better. And then you can't get away from it.
Oh, we're having an Animal House moment if that happens.
Yes.
I'm smashing that ukulele up against the side of the train.
So now Henry knocks on the door. There's kind of that reveal open up, right? Where you have Eliza open up the door and you see her all done up with her make under, where she's wearing like this normal dress and has normal hair and makeup, and she's not like all influencer looking, with the more revealing clothes and extreme makeup. And you get that like, wow, you were wearing an enormous amount of fragrance. And she's like, can you say anything nice? And again, yeah, it's just like he's not.
Good point.
He's too mean. He's too mean.
Yeah, but
to her.
also like she doesn't say anything nice to people either, so she has no place in saying that back to him.
But her character's supposed to be the one that needs growth.
Sure, but she shouldn't be aware of it. She should be so aloof that she doesn't realize that the tables have turned here.
Sure. Well, I have problems with both characters in this regards, right? Because she kind of like, I was going to bring this up later, but I think what happens here, and we'll get more into it later, is they tell a complete story in this episode. Like by episode's end, she's already like basically converted, This is why like this should have probably just been like some sort of a, stretch it out and just make a movie out of it.
Right, it literally is the plot of a rom-com movie that usually takes 90 minutes. They did in 26 minutes.
Yeah, the rest of the series, from what I've seen, is just their will they, won't they.
So the whole thing's based on like, oh, I'm this influencer and I have to learn how to get to be like a normal person in the real world and he's going to help me. And then 20 minutes later, it's like, okay, now we're done with that. So, all right, so now what's the rest of the show about?
Then they become friends.
Well, from what I thought was the end of the show, and then you tell me there's more episodes, it really ends on a downer.
They're getting ready to go to the wedding, and he's making it very clear he doesn't want her to bring the phone. He wants her to be like in the moment. He says, today's about focusing on a beauty other than your own. And she starts to chuckle, and he's like, is something funny? He's like, well, you just call me beautiful. He's like, I did not. She's like, you indirectly did.
And this is where you're just like, oh my God, the fucking premise of this movie is happening.
I thought it was a nice moment.
The thing is, though, she has like transformed already now. Now she's like being humble and showing more insecurities and like all this stuff. So it's like, what's left to happen?
Right.
She got this is actually not even resolved through Henry. It was resolved through these other girls. Like these other girls.
The girls are the hero of this story.
Yeah. They showed her friendship. Yeah. And they gave her a make under and all this stuff. And that's what's really like changing her. It's not any of this Henry training.
And I wish it just fucking ended here.
Don't we all?
Rome wasn't built in a day, but what about Roma ooh la la?
Is that the actual lyric?
It's something like that. It might be.
I was like, I always just thought it was like gibberish noises, like ba ba boo boo ba or whatever.
Yes, but there's a lot of romances.
It's Roma,
so it's
Roma,
coming
ma.
off of the word romance, really.
Oh, all right, that makes sense.
We cut to the wedding, and we see Sam and Ethan sitting there talking, and Henry and Eliza walk up, and Sam doesn't recognize Eliza at all, and he's like, "Oh, this is Eliza. She works in sales." He's like, "Eliza Dooley? Wow, you look amazing, right?" And he's saying, "Thank you." And she goes, "Thank you. How are you?" And it's like, again, is she an alien?
She knows how to say thank you. She's an adult, a grown adult person. She knows how to say thank you.
She
not
turns
like an
into
alien.
an alien character whenever she has to like say normal phrases that are being fed to her.
And she knows how to take a compliment.
It goes back to what you said. They already like solved a lot. So it's like they have to show that she's not like fixed so they can keep the show going.
She's turned into like a Bill Hader alien character from SNL. This player is like.
We cut to the ceremony and we see Sam's daughter up on stage about to get married. And she wants to recite a poem in lieu of vows. I don't want to read the whole poem, but I'll give you a few lines.
Yeah, please don't read the whole fucking poem.
You wanted me to read the whole one?
No, do not read the whole one. Also, Sam Levine from Freaks and Geeks is the
husband, yeah.
husband here.
I'm the nest, you're my lark. I'm the lock, you're the key. Best line in the whole thing. If I am Hook, you are Shmee.
Oh, I thought the bagel schmear was the better line.
No, man, you gotta go with the Hook and Smee one. Peter Pan.
Hook and Smee is definitely way better than...
I liked bagel schmear just because her response was, "Why is she bagel?" Which I actually did think was kind of a funny line.
Also, she's indirectly saying that Hook and Smee are lovers.
Well, no, that they go together. Because I don't think she's implying that Bagel and Cream Cheese are lovers.
Oh, man, it's all over it, on top of it.
Ben Franklin didn't fuck that kite.
You don't know what he did in his free time.
That's true. He might have. Forgive me.
Known for a lot of sex worker and syphilis in his time, so you never know.
That's how he discovered electricity. The kite was tied to his dick, and then it got struck.
And now for this week's episode of Joe Talks About Historical Dicks.
I mean, I'll always talk about historical dick. Ben Franklin's was riddled with syphilis.
I only know that because of The Office.
What, did he have syphilis?
Yeah. I didn't know that until The Office thing. Because they had the Ben Franklin impersonator.
I haven't seen that much of The Office.
I'm not
It's a great
surprised.
episode. If you're going to watch an episode of The Office, it's a good standalone one where you probably wouldn't need to know too much.
That is a good episode, yeah.
We get some narration from Eliza Hero during this whole speech. And it's basically her acknowledging that, like, watching this ceremony and seeing how much they love each other is making her realize that she may never find anyone who, you know, feels that way about her. And you get the transition to when she was, you know, in school, the photo we see of her from before. And it's her at a school dance now.
The timing of this scene kind of threw me because they cut to her. We know she's in 7th grade. She's got like a Nokia phone, but the Goo Goo Dolls song is playing. That's from like way before.
That doesn't matter. They played that at every dance.
As long as it's from before, it's fine.
Sure. No, I agree. I don't remember that playing at school dances. But what year is it supposed to be? How old is she?
Yes.
Fair.
I assume she's right around our age in real life.
No, I don't think any of us had cell phones in 7th grade. That's crazy. No, I think my first one until I was like a senior in high school.
Oh, yeah. I didn't get a Nokia till I was a sophomore year. I got like the Nokia phone.
I had my Nokia phone in 7th grade, and it had the Goonies face paint that made it look like the key.
That seems like a very specific thing to sell when not that many people were buying cell phones, but I love that that was the thing that happened.
Yeah, so Karen Gillan, she's like a year, and depending on where you are with us, like 2 years younger than Ferg. So, you know, same month as Ferg, so November 87.
That's Ferg, like we're not all fucking the same age. Gordo's older than me.
You're like a half year older than me, so I was going with the easiest comparison. She was the same month as you. Don't have to get sensitive because you're
I
not
am
feeling good about your
sensitive. I'm
age.
coming up on 40, and I'm not okay with it.
Gordo, Ferg, and I are close, and you and Nick are close.
Yeah, it made the most sense because they share a birth month, so I apologize, Ferg, for telling everyone how old you are. Yeah, no, so you figure, well, I said I was a sophomore when I got my Nokia phone, right? So if she's, you know, a grade or two below us and she's, you know, in 8th grade or something, you know, it's close enough. It's close. And I don't think I got that phone the day it came out either, so.
Back in the good old days when phones were just flips.
But we see her with the phone and she's telling us through that, like, that's what she would do to distract herself when she was, like, trying to, like, you know, not pay attention to her feelings and stuff and just kind of isolating.
She's playing Snake.
She was playing Snake. And now we cut back to the wedding and you see her again. Well, we get the vows being said on stage and we get interrupted by the sound of the game that she's playing on her phone. And you see her like hunched down with her head in her phone. The assumption being that she's just bored and she's playing with her phone.
Whose volume is not down, though? My phone volume is always down and it's on vibrate, unless I'm listening to a podcast or something.
I feel like they could have timed it better so it was a more important part of the ceremony, so the interruption was a little more extreme.
Yeah.
Because his reaction to this doesn't fit. Like, as mad as he gets, like, that's annoying, but she's still a work in progress.
It was at an important point in the ceremony because he said if anybody has any objections to this marriage, it was at that point. And then the phone thing went off.
I'm not going to lie, at this point, I knew we were like 4 minutes away from it being over, and I was real glazed, just being like, end this fucker if I can land this plane.
It also wasn't that part of the vows. It was after the, do you, Terrence, take Maureen to be your lawful wedded wife to have and to hold? And that's when we hear the sound, not the objection part. But, sorry to fact check.
Well, the have and to hold part is important too. I will say, though, I take a lot of pride in the fact that my wedding vows were literally like, almost like the Homer Simpson and Marge ones, where it's like, do you? Like, we were done in like a minute and a half. Don't need to be up there that long. Come on.
Yours was nice and quick. I appreciate that in a wedding.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree. Just get it done with. You know you love each other. Just get this part over with. Everyone's there to eat ham.
Always back to the ham.
Somehow, always.
Actually, sorry, just real quick, the Pete Holmes Batman. I saw one of the skits today, and he was giving out his Wi-Fi, and his Wi-Fi was Goth ham and cheese.
I love those Batman sketches so bad.
But yeah, no, I mean, just this idea, like, we're seeing her be very vulnerable here, and I get why the perception is, a certain way, and it's made to look that way, but you're getting her just being this insecure girl who she was way back and, not knowing how to feel when she's seeing emotions expressed. So I think, again, we're evolving her character at too rapid of a pace for a show that's supposed to be focused around her being a certain way.
Yeah, you're covering her arc, like 70% of it in the pilot.
Yeah. I mean, this makes sense if you think the show's not going to go to series, where you're like, well, maybe we can look back at this and be like, look at this good story we told. But I'm assuming this had a series order, so you should have maybe tried to spread this out over the 13 episodes.
They thought this was a tax write-off at this point.
To be fair, I'm sure the executives were like, this fucking thing's not going.
So then we cut to, like, after the wedding's over, and it's just Henry and Eliza sitting in the pew still, but, like, everyone else is gone. And they're talking about it, and he's obviously mad about the situation, and she's trying to explain what happened. Like, this is, why I did it, and which you think would be enough, but, he's still pretty pissed. And she's saying, like, have you never made a mistake before? He's like, yeah, I have, when I agreed to help you. She's like, oh, yeah? Well, are you helping me, or am I helping you? Because, like, don't think I didn't notice that you didn't have a date for this event.
Well, what unfun man gets a date, right?
And she's talking about, like, she learned all this about him, the fact that he's unfun, because she was checking out his ex-girlfriend's blog, and that's why she broke up with him. He's like, did you Google me? Don't you dare Google me.
Don't you dare Google me was a fucking sentence somebody wrote, and they were like, print it, it's good. We can't get any better than this. Holy fucking shit.
Did John Lovitz produce this show?
I wish. Oh my god, we'd at least get a big horny bird.
That line makes him, like, I get not liking social media, but you're making him sound way too old, with that line.
I mean, I wish he was like, don't you Alta Vista me. Like, if he's going to be that character, at least make him, like, a little more out of touch.
You just asked Jeeves me.
Yeah, Nick, what did Jeeves tell you about me?
Would you learn that from Jeeves?
That fucking lying butler.
But then we cut to his big glass house. You see a Jeeves in the house with him. It's like, I told you not to go around telling stuff about me, Jeeves.
And then she's going over all these things that he is and how he's antisocial, judgmental, hypocritical, workaholic, and a coxcomb, which I had never heard that term.
I thought he said coxhood.
Coxcomb. I didn't hear it either, but it's
is that a flower?
Term.
But it works out because even the way it is used in this episode, like, even she wasn't sure if she used it right, and he wasn't even positive, and, like, it's addressed later that he does look it up, and he's like, yeah, it's like an archaic version, but you did use it right.
She's like, also, that blog talked about the time you were detained in Guantanamo Bay. And he was like, no, we don't talk about that anymore.
Oh, like Harold and Kumar, too.
Yes.
Took me a minute. I was like, is Joe being racist?
I just totally changed the exact kind of person.
Selfie broke Joe.
I'm fucking done.
That scene ends. We get the narration. It's like the next work day, and Eliza's talking about how she's made the decision that she's done socializing and she's going to go back to social networking because the real world sucks. And you see her leaving at the end of the workday, and she's passing by, like, the secretary desk. You see Charmonique's son is sitting in his mom's seat, and she doesn't notice at first because she's looking down at her phone. And he goes like, oh, you have a good night now. And she realizes that it's not her voice, so she turns around. She's like, oh, hey, like, where's your mom? And he's talking about how she's going to, like, rinse out his lunchbox. And she's like, oh, you're going to let her get some sleep tonight? And that's when she walks out. She goes, no, but you know what? Like, we got to run these sleep apnea masks and, come on, let's go. And they start walking together. And she's talking about how he looks like Bane when he wears it. And does, I was born in darkness.
You only adapted in darkness.
They're talking about how Bane sounded like the Pepperidge Farm guy. Like, you mentioned that at the top of the episode.
That reference made me laugh because I'm like, that makes no sense to her character to me. That she would be like, everything is modern, and all of a sudden be like, Pepperidge Farms remembers cell phones? Like, what the fuck? That does not make sense to her character.
Also, Nick, do you know who the son was?
No.
He was the kid they find in Last Man on Earth.
Oh, shit.
Oh, wow.
I forget his name.
Wow.
That's why I just called him the kid. I was like, I recognize his face. I go, what is he from? And I Googled. It's like, oh, shit.
So now these girls are talking, and it's kind of like, wait, did we just have a friendly exchange that had nothing to do with you? I think we did. And Charmonique's saying, hey, you know, whatever you're doing with Mr. Man, it's working. And now you cut to Eliza walking up, like the next scene. It cuts right to her walking up to Henry's house. And it's like later that night and it's raining. And she's like knocking on the window. His house is like half window. It's a very nice house.
Is this like a metaphor for like glass houses and throw stones?
It's like the house from 13 Ghosts. It's all fucking glass.
It's cool to look at, right? Like if you were vacationing, it'd be like a cool Airbnb, but like the idea of living in a house with that little privacy, like I've seen other movies and shows where there's like houses that are very window forward. I would never want that in my life though.
It's like the house from the end of Heat too, with like the bad guy who's the boyfriend and mom.
But I don't like that they explain it. Like, oh, did we just have this? Oh, it is working. It's like, show, don't tell. You don't have to explain it to the audience. Just let people realize that, oh, this is all working.
This is the most dog shit scene in the whole show.
Yes.
And this is like knowing we just watched the Lady Gaga sing along.
I didn't mind them having a moment together. Like I thought that was good. Like
it's rushed.
I don't think any of this stuff needs to happen now. Like that scene, like with the Charmonique, this scene that's about to happen, like this is all way too soon. All way too soon for episode 1.
You've also obliterated his character, right? Like he is like set like in stone as like this high achieving loner, like stone face, like, and then it takes what, a day of working and he's just like this, you know, falling in the rain and giggling guy. It's just it's way too polar and it doesn't make any sense.
What would have worked better is if Charmonique went to him and said, what you're doing is working, blah, blah, blah. We had this nice conversation instead of her going to him and then him like having a change of heart.
But then him and Charmonique have a love affair, and then the son walks up and sees him having sex on the couch because his whole house is glass windows, and then
just
the
looking
show's
like
actually
Bane. What are you doing to my mother?
But Mom, why are you having sex? Mom said back door was okay.
You know what? Just thinking in live time, like something that could have tied this up a little bit too is like you could have had it that she had the exchange with the kid Kevin, and he's talking about how he has these sleep problems, and she could be like, "Oh, I have this," and pulls out some like designer sleep mask that would be like very like of her character to look at, like the eye cover ones. Be like, "Oh, I use this whenever I sleep. It always helps me go to bed. Like, here, have it." And then like later, you could see Henry walking out and seeing, you know, Kevin with that thing on. He'd be like, "Where'd you get that?" Like, "Oh, the lady just gave it to me." You know, like something like that. Like, something that'd be obviously her item. Like, "Oh, he just gave that." You know, like something like that.
It's like bedazzled.
Yeah.
Right. They just go for the biggest cop-out, though, which is, like, people in these movies fall in love and kiss in the rain, which is, like, the weirdest thing that they always go to, and it's just never been, like, retired for some reason.
It just feels like they shot the first run of the script, and, like, no one punched it up or edited it. Like, they had the rough storyboard, and they just kind of, like, wrote, like, a loose script to kind of give you a frame of reference, and then they just went with that.
It's like, I wonder, was this somebody's like passion project movie? Like, he's like, oh, I'm going to get it done. And like, we'll give you a show. And then the whole first episode is just his movie, like shortened down. Like,
yeah, right.
The creator of it did talk about how they wanted it to be like a rom-com. So like, I think that's what they were going into. So, but I think when you lean that heavy on the tropes for that stuff in the first episode.
Yeah, you just got to space it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she's at Henry's house and she's knocking on the window. And he's trying to ignore it and pretend that he doesn't see her. And she's like, "I can obviously see you, and I see that you see me." He opens up the door, and he goes, "Oh, this is the exit from my house. Excuse me." And like starts walking like he's like trying to leave.
Also, nobody talks like that. This happens to be the exit of my home. I think I'll just take a left out the door. Yeah.
He doesn't even shut his door.
It's because he's supposedly too nice to leave her in the rain, but he wants to storm off. So it's like, how do you do that?
She's saying, "Wait, you know, like I'm not a lost cause. What you're doing, it's working. I wasn't on my phone because I was bored. The wedding gave me feels and it scared me. And I lashed out and I called you a coxcomb," which is probably the incorrect use of the word. And that's when he admits that it was actually the right use. And then like the rain starts to intensify and he goes, "Hey, medium rainfall on roof with gentle overspill from gutters. It's your favorite, isn't it?"
Holy shit.
She goes to record it, and then he's like, no, Eliza, don't. I think that you're getting it, but you're, in fact, missing it. And she's like, well, what about you? You get it? Yeah, I get it. You don't think that I'm getting it?
Now, Punky, sometimes when it's raining, you need to see the rain and not just be the rain. Like, what the fuck, dude?
And she goes, I think I should show you how to get it. And then she pushes him in the rain, and then he's giggling. You know, something told me that I needed to give Henry a push, so I gave him a push. And he's like, oh, and he slipped. And it's the whole, you know, this is the exact kind of thing that we need to work on. It's not funny when someone gets injured.
On what planet? It is always funny when somebody gets injured.
It got very corny in this scene here, but they're trying to do this like playful playing in the rain. The will they, won't they? Like they're already like at like
they will.
It was everything but the kiss. It was everything but the kiss is how they end the episode.
Newsflash, they don't.
You watched the whole series?
Yeah, they never get together.
I can't believe you watched the whole series.
I can spoil that. Nobody's gonna go back and watch Selfie.
You never know. Never know. People have.
I can't say they never did because I only thought there was 7 episodes of this. So, you know, there's a bunch more that I haven't seen.
Oh, you only saw the original run. You didn't see all the stuff that went to Hulu after.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of that. I thought it just ended.
Lucky you with all these new episodes.
And now you couldn't see it if you wanted to anyway because Hulu pulled the plug on even fucking keeping it on their servers.
I've tracked down our hardest shows to find, all right? I'll be fine. If I wanted to watch the rest of this, I could. You know, I like to hate watch stuff. I will not be hate watching the rest of this show. I've washed my hands of it.
But yeah, that was like the conclusion of the episode, which was like, you know, the note I have in my notes is, so the story's over? Like, they've done the thing. This is the whole story arc.
Yeah, this should have been spread out to be like an hour-long special or something. Like, we're telling a story, like a made-for-TV movie.
She needed to be first scene girl for multiple episodes. Like, to a point where you think she's not fixable.
And she has to be, like, meaner to secretary. She has to be meaner to, like, her coworkers. You have to know more about her sleeping with the boss.
One thing I want to mention since we've just concluded the episode, we've gone long, so I don't want to go too long afterwards. I know we need to wrap this up. There was a note that after the cancellation, fans of the show posted on various social media platforms using the hashtag #SaveSelfie, as well as creating an online petition which attracted over 64,000 signatures. The final 6 unaired episodes appeared on Hulu as a result of all of that stuff.
I'm just saying, that's not that much when you think of the grand scheme of things.
No, 64,000 people. I mean, like, we're in an election year right now, right? Like, when you think of, like, swing states, like, 64,000 people could actually change the whole presidential election. But 64,000 people aren't going to get a show renewed, right? Like, that's such a small amount of people watching something.
That's like the AEW audience.
All right, nerd, we get it. You like wrestling. So in a 2021 article, Karen said that she would be open to revisiting the show Selfie with John Cho again.
ABC responded with no thank you.
ABC said, a security guard is now escorting you off of the lot. Please fucking leave.
Not only, forget selling the rights. We will pay another network to take this property from us.
Hey, she landed on her feet after this, though. She became Nebula, and she was in those Jumanji movies.
They're both just fine.
Yeah, they're both doing fine. I don't think they need to revisit this property ever again.
I can't remember if this is before or after he did Star Trek.
I think before.
I think so. I don't know, though.
Well, in any event, we've covered this episode. It's gone long. We need to wrap it up. So we're going to get into this green light or cancel. I don't know if there's going to be many surprises here, but I'll go in the order. I see you guys in, Joe, starting with you.
Yeah, since we're going along, I think ukulele equals cancel.
Ferg.
Ukulele equals pukulele. That's how you do it, Gordo. This show's an example of, like, it's a good idea, extremely poor execution. It's just, a lot of it, it's just a huge cringe fest. And anyone knows anything about me, that is what I cancel. So, yeah, it's a hard cancel for me, even though I love the cast. It's a great cast. And I'm glad this didn't hurt anybody's career. But in the end, cancel.
Nick.
This is terrible. Yeah. Terrible character development. It's misguided. It's forgettable. It doesn't know what it wants to be. It doesn't know if it wants to be a romantic comedy, a sitcom, comedy, maybe. It's terrible in every facet of what we do here on the show. It's unforgivable as far as ratings, or as far as we rate things. I think it's terrible. I never want to see another instance of this show ever again. Cancel.
Gordo.
This is the worst show that we have ever done.
I don't know about that.
No, this is
Honestly, the fact that
worst
I
show.
can't really argue, I would love to argue this with you.
Hard to argue it.
I would love to argue it with you, but I don't know if I could.
This is worse than Country Comfort. This is worse than Homeboys in Outer Space. This is like bad.
Homeboys is the only one where I'm like, I don't know, that was pretty fucking bad. It's definitely worse than Country Comfort.
Oh, and you forgot Mama's Family.
How fucking dare you guys?
California Dreams is worse to me.
What? California Dreams had a great soundtrack.
This is my green light or cancel. All of you.
How dare you?
No, this is the worst show we've ever done. I'm putting the stamp on that. Cancel. Just cancel. Burn it with fire.
So, yeah, for me, the one thing we didn't really get into in this episode, and we were talking about it off air before, was like, I have this conflict where I don't even really know if this is like a comedy in its truest sense. Like, I get that there's jokes and there's some funny things that happen, but again, like, to kind of go into it, this was set up to be more of a rom-com, and I get that rom-com is romantic comedy that puts comedy in there, just not like in the truest sense of like a television comedy. It just didn't match that kind of humor. And then, like, you know, we said before, the character development just was all over the place. Like, both characters were flip-flopping too much, and they told too much story in the first episode, so it doesn't feel like there's anywhere to go. There's no need to keep watching. You already see that she can change and he can change and everything else that Rocky says at the end of the movie. So with that being said, I'm also canceling it. I'm so sorry to Selfie. 0 out of 5. We basically feel the same way ABC felt.
You've been agreeing a lot lately.
Yeah. Well, when they're super good or super bad, it's easier for those. But yeah, maybe in coming episodes we'll get back to not agreeing on stuff again, but not this time. 0 out of 5. Sorry, Selfie. Want to remind all of you guys to go to S1E1pod.com, go to all the links, click all the stuff, hit us up, message us. I don't want to keep this much longer, so thank you everyone who listened. We'll catch you again next week with another new episode. Until then, thank you. Goodbye.
I think we got the best Pepperidge Farm for members.